Happy Menopause Monday! Today I am talking about the menopause and brittle bones, osteopenia, osteoporosis, and why it actually happens more predominantly in the menopause. But actually, even if you're not menopausal, you are going to benefit from this because obviously our bones, they just have such a crucial role in the body. They help to support the body, they protect our organs, they hold it upright, they release minerals into the bloodstream when they're needed. We make most of our blood cells in our bones. I mean, they are absolutely vital to healthy survival. Um, so what I'm going to discuss today is pretty much what we sort of lifestyle changes that we can make in order to make sure that we give ourselves the best chance to have a set of strong bones, but also reduce the risk of fractures and things like that. But specifically to tie in with that, the menopause, because obviously as our estrogen levels drop, that has a bigger impact on so many different elements of our bone production. Now, we've got 206 bones in the body. I mean, even that fact in itself would suggest that we should really be looking after our bones. Um, and as we also age, we are more prone to, breakages and fractures and things like that, which we then really struggle to heal from. So, the reason little kids they fall over so often and they don't break their bones is because they're bendy. Bones are made up of collagen and various selection of different types of minerals, and it's the collagen that sort of gives them the flexibility and the strength, and then the minerals overlay on the collagen and form a really, really strong foundation. But it's really interesting. I think a lot of people think that bones are just sticks. You know, you might see like the skeleton of a dinosaur in the museum, and we all assume our bones look like that. But our bones are living, breathing bits of body. Hi, Bridget. Lovely to see you. And we are replacing about 10% of our bones are being replaced all the time consistently. And I think it's really important to remember that fact that we still need to be feeding our bones. It's absolutely, it's just imperative. And the cells I'm going to chat about today are called osteoblasts and osteoclasts. Bit osteoblasts, osteoclasts, depending where you come from. Now, osteoblasts are the things that help to build our bones, and osteoclasts are the things that gobble up bone tissue. But they both have a really important role because, like any other cell in our body, as cells die off or they become diseased, those cells need to be removed. So that's what osteoclasts do. Osteoblasts they create new bone cells. So where we might, but it's not random. I mean, they're really, really clever. The body is a miracle. So if you've got like a hairline fracture, or you've got an area which has got a little bit of weakness in it, that's where the osteoblasts are going to focus their cell growth. And the same goes for the osteoclasts. They will remove specific bone cells. They're not just going to start gobbling away at all your bone. It's only the bits that need to be removed. So it's really important to remember how you've got this interrelationship of osteoblasts and osteoclasts, which are also affected as we go through the menopause. So as our estrogen levels drop. Now, estrogen is created obviously by the ovaries, but also by the adrenal glands. So as our estrogen levels drop, our adrenal glands pretty much take over, or try and take over our production of estrogen. And of course, adrenal glands can only do so much because ovaries, they do a pretty good job of it while we are busy laying eggs, as it were. And as we so as our estrogen levels fall, it has a negative impact on our osteoblasts, which are the cells that build the bones, and it also promotes the activity of osteoclasts. So that's pretty much what will, that's really, I suppose, the main reason as to why we get brittle bones. But there's also a knock-on effect because it's the adrenals trying to support the estrogen levels. Our adrenals release stress hormones, which is cortisol. One of them is obviously adrenaline and cortisol. And cortisol actually has another added negative impact on osteoblasts, which are the cells that build the bone, and it spurs on the activity of the osteoclasts, which gobbles up the bone. So we've got this sort of, it's like this double pronged thing going on: lack of estrogen, but increased cortisol, which is affecting the cells that essentially create strong bones for us. Now there are loads of things that we can do, and there are certain things that we shouldn't be doing in order to make sure that we have excellent bone health, or really really good bone health. I mean, I can't remember the statistics off the top of my head, but they're pretty scary. I think it's like 1 in 3 women in the UK over the age of, I can't remember if it's 50 or 60, I think it might be 50, have will have a fracture as a result of osteoporosis. So and also it's one of those diseases that you don't really know you've got unless you get a DEXA scan, and just out of interest, or you have a fracture and then you realize that your bone density is so poor. So there are things that we can do, which is brilliant. And I would suggest that we all start to build healthy bones. Even if you're 12 years old listening to this, make sure you're doing the right stuff, because the stronger your bone foundation, the healthier bones you're going to have on into your later life. And I mean, it's just absolutely crucial. Also, the other thing to remember is, as we go through the menopause, our ability to create collagen reduces. Well, collagen is a major component of our bone strength, our bone building. So our bones really, really take a hit. Now, a lot of people will say, I remember going to see the doctor. She said, we should go on HRT. She's like, I don't know if I want to go on HRT. Cancer is rife in our family. Admittedly, not breast cancer, but we've lost a lot of people to cancer. We've had family members, close family members, who have died of heart disease. So HRT for me, it's just a no-no. I would rather have a healthy lifestyle and make sure I'm doing what I can on a lifestyle basis to not need HRT. I think if you've got to go down that route, go for the bioidentical hormones. I've heard so much more positive stuff about them than standard synthetic HRT. So if HRT is one of those things, make sure you get the bioidentical hormones. They're a lot safer. And so additional factors that can sort of increase the porosity of our bones, make our bones weaker, things like alcohol. You are allowed, I mean, this is great fun. I'm still teetotal. I think I'm 4 weeks in. Tomorrow, I think, is my 4 weeks day, 4 weeks off the booze. But you are allowed 2 glasses, 2 servings of booze a day. So it's not that bad. Smoking, just don't do it. It's terrible for, every aspect of your health, but it's really bad for your bone health as well. If you smoke, get help, and do not start vaping, please, because there's so much stuff out there saying, oh, if vaping is healthier, but people who vape literally live on the stuff. It's almost like I see people vaping. This might not be you, so I know, I'm sorry, but you see people down the streets with just like these clouds of vape coming out because it's safe. It's not safe. It's just maybe safer than smoking cigarettes. But that's not the point of this thing. Sugary drinks are a nightmare. They leach calcium out of your bones, things like Coke, anything carbonated really, because of the acid in it. I think sparkling water isn't quite so bad, but soft drinks, sugar, it's just bad. Get off sugar, as in just about every video I say. If you don't exercise, you are seriously putting yourself at risk. And I'm going to go into this in a few minutes about the importance of calcium intake and vitamin D, and also exercise. Those 3 things, and also sleep, actually, are absolutely paramount to good bone health, strong bone health. And just one thing I want to say, there's a lot of, okay, if you Google, can you get over osteoporosis? There's a lot of people saying, even some like I don't know if it was WebMD, one of the websites is saying that, where you think they'd have it right, says, no, you can't. Once you've got osteoporosis, that's it, you're stuck. You've got to have medication for the rest of your life. If that was the case, astronauts who go to space would never ever recover their bone strength, because while they're up in space, there is no gravity. And so when they come back down to land, back down to Earth, their bone density is completely screwed. But they don't go around in wheelchairs. on osteoporotic drugs for the rest of their lives. They rebuild their bones. It's an absolute fact. The body will rebuild itself. So there's also, thankfully, a lot of research out there pointing to the fact that we do rebuild our bones. But don't just read one article and think, oh, well, it says I can't, because you can. And there is, you can never, ever, ever lose hope, and never ever abandon the idea that no matter what a doctor might tell you, there is no hope left, because the body is an absolute miracle if you give it half a chance. Um, so yeah, okay, so people say, should we eat more, or we should eat more calcium for our bones? Calcium is really important for our bones, but it's also been proven that if you just ate loads and loads of calcium, as well as other healthy things in your diet, your bones aren't necessarily going to take up that calcium. It's activity. So it's the pounding, the sort of gravity based exercises. Thank you for the hearts. The gravity based exercises, dynamic exercises, muscle loading exercises, strength training. That when the bones are being, pounded like that, that then enables them, that signals to the body, release the calcium, because, or give me the calcium because I need to build my bones. But if you just lie on the couch all day long and don't do anything, your bones think, don't need to do anything. Osteoblasts, they go on holiday while the osteoclasts are busy nibbling away at the stuff because they're not being used. So you will only use calcium if you're actually using your body in such a way that the bones need to be strengthened. So exercise, thankfully there's a lot of research out there now saying that exercise combined with regular outdoor exposure, so you're getting vitamin D, which is most of us in the northern hemisphere probably have a deficiency in vitamin D. That's one of the reasons. I mean, I've got dogs, but it's one of the reasons I go out walking every single day, and I normally try and do it around midday, just so I get some UV, because I hate the winter months. But vitamin D is so important on so many different levels: heart health, against cancer, anti-inflammatory. It's good for your mental health. On so many different levels, vitamin D is important. So, but more research is pointing to the fact now, if we do regular exercise, strength bearing exercise, dynamic exercise, exercises that confuse the muscles. So, for instance, like the workout programs that I do, and I'm not trying to push those at all, but because they're based upon muscle confusion, and every day is slightly different. So some days may be more cardio based, other days might be more strength related. And if you want 2 free weeks, I've got 2 free weeks I can give to you. So this is an aside, but regular exercise combined with regular ultraviolet light or vitamin D is absolutely vital to strong bones. And in fact, they did it was one of the, I read an article, it was peer reviewed in one of the Ultra Runner magazines, and because there's quite a bit of controversy also about bone density of, say, long distance runners, and I actually didn't find too much to say that they have a higher incidence of brittle bones, but it did say in this article that people like gymnasts, people who play squash, tennis, basketball, so you're loading the body all the time, you're doing different types of movement, they have a much higher bone density ratio to the average Joe on the street. So again, that makes sense. It's all impact, and I suppose gymnasts, there's a lot on their hands as well. That's also why it's so important not just to do running or to just do walking. You need some upper body strength training too, because obviously, the bones in the top of the body are just as important as the bones on the bottom of the body. So it's really, really important that you make sure that you are getting good activity. And if you've got no idea of how to start, send me a message. I've got so many free resources that I can give to you just to get you started with healthier living. Obviously, things like leafy greens are incredibly good for a whole range of vitamins and minerals that we need for our bodies. Collagen, just going back to collagen briefly, unfortunately, the vegan collagen does not exist. It comes from connective tissue of animals. If you're not vegan, if you're not veggie, You can cook up your own bone broth. It's really, really beneficial for your collagen. Um, I love chicken thighs. I mean, they are one of my weaknesses. And I mean, this might put this might make you think I'm a complete cannibal. I do eat the skin. It's got to be really crispy though, because obviously the skin on meat is high in collagen. When you peel a hard-boiled egg, that little membrane that's underneath the shell, that's collagen. You could just swallow that. Might be a bit disgusting, but you could. I also, if because my chicken thighs, when I cook them fairly long, slow, but make them crispy, which makes the bones really, really soft. And I always eat the end. I know, sorry. Take the cartilage off, but I always bite off the ends of the bones because the stuff in the side of them is delicious. I've done it for years. I don't know what started me on it, but I've always done it. Um, I don't know. I've aged really well. Maybe that's why. It might be all those chicken bones I've eaten. But so bone broth is really, really beneficial. But if you're vegan, unfortunately, there is no way of getting collagen, but you can support your body's own ability to create collagen. And so that's things that, it's just healthy living, lots of green vegetables. Um, I have read a few things saying that black beans, tempeh, tofu, soya products are very good in helping you stimulate collagen. There is one article that I read that said they are making a vegan kind of collagen out of genetically modified bacteria and yeast. Um, I haven't read any more on that. It's the only article I could find. And when I read genetically modified, I just sort of thought, oh, I'm not entirely sure about that. So it's just worth, bearing that in mind. Um, and also, just finally, so what happens if you have got osteoporosis or osteopenia, by the way, is when it's the softening of bones. So it's kind of like the precursor to osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is pretty bad. Osteopenia, if you've got that, you want to make the lifestyle changes right now. Is what was I going to say? Yeah, if you're already on treatment for osteoporosis, again, there's a lot of stuff out there written about this. Essentially, it stops the osteoclast's activity, or it reduces the osteoclast activity. So that means obviously the osteoclasts are the little things that go and nibble away at bad bones and degenerative bone cells, which you really want to get rid of. But it stops that happening. So when then your osteoblasts are thinking, oh, not quite sure what's going on here, but I'll stick some more cells on here. So it's almost like having a broken bone in a in a cast, but then thinking, okay, well the cast's there, but I'll stick some more stuff on top. So you're not really creating any strength in the bones. You are increasing the bone density because you're just sticking more stuff on top of the old stuff, but you're not really increasing the quality of that density of that bone mass, which I think is key. And actually, there are quite a few reports out there saying that long term, so chronic osteoporosis treatment leads to osteoporosis because the bone gets to a stage where it's just like, well, what am I doing? Am I a bone or have I become a tree trunk? So, if you've got osteoporosis or if you have loved ones with osteoporosis, get them doing some basic movement. Get them outside, get them eating lots of green leafy vegetables. If they're not veggie or vegan, boil them up some bone broth regularly to supplement their collagen intake. If you can't get outside or if you just refuse to get outside, go to your local health store and get a really good vitamin D3 supplement. That will make a big difference. There is also, I just wanted to mention, calcium phosphate. Avoid calcium citrate is the supplement that is better to take. I think it's calcium phosphate, is the one that can clog up your arteries. It does improve your calcium level, but it can clog up your arteries. Calcium citrate is it'll deposit calcium where it's needed. It's not the dodgy stuff. So I hope that's helped. If you've got any questions, send me a private message or leave them in the comments. And if you've got anything you would like me to have mention in next week's Menopause Monday, you know, again, leave me a comment or send me a private message. But I know this was a bit more general, but specifically with menopause, with our estrogen and the fact that it has a negative effect on our collagen, has a negative effect on our osteoblasts, um, cortisol increases. I nearly forgot sleep. My goodness. Sleep is absolute cornerstone to our health. That is when the osteoblasts get to work and start to rebuild our body. So, you know, I mean, on so many different levels, sleep is good for our mental health. It's when our bodies rebuild themselves, but for your bone health too, sleep is absolutely crucial. Also, getting your vitamin D, that will help you sleep better because it stimulates the secretion of melatonin, which helps us sleep well. So, right on that, I think I've done all the points I wanted to cover. I will catch you next week and hope this has been helpful. Thank you very much for joining me.